Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the professor on my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe so that you will find out once I drop the video. This channel is certainly dedicated to the Eminifx saga. I call it a saga because it is actually a saga. Well, today I'm doing this video in English, like this always happens whenever I do a video in Creole, try to make sure that all the Haitians understand. I've always get a lot of requests to do the video in English. So today we're going to do the video in English. We're going to talk about some of the things that I've mentioned in my last video. But since I've made my last video, the receivership, the gentleman who's in charge of collecting all the money for the investors or the users of Eminifx, issued a report on May 16. I've gotten a copy of it. It is a very lengthy report, about 60 somewhat pages, and I have read the entire report. So today, we're going to talk about the report, but there is so much in the report, so much that reveal the intent of A.T. Alexson, the pastors, his wife, all the people that were involved in this Ponzi scheme. This report, the last report issued by the receiver on May 16, clearly delineated for everyone to see that there was never an intent to do a legal business. There was never an intent to really do something that will stand the test of legality. So today we're going to talk about this. This is a very important video. I'm going to be joined by my friend, Baptiste. You would remember that Mr. Baptiste was give me an interview early on, a three-part interview where we talk a little bit about the inner working of Eminifx and why he invested in Eminifx and how long did it take him to discover that Eminifx was actually a Ponzi scheme. So please do not go away. Come back. We will be right back with Mr. Baptiste. Your man. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting. We are back with our friend, Baptiste. You will recall that he was with us a few weeks ago. We did a couple of interviews about Eminifx. But the last video that I published, I received a lot of commentaries from people who said they wanted us to do this one in English. So since my last video, as I've said before, the receiver, David Castleman, issued a report about the status of Eminifx. And that report was very detailed. That report was very telling. That report delineated the intent of A.T. Alexson and his co-conspirators with regard to the structure of Eminifx. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that report with Mr. Fischer, who have read the report. But we're also going, before we start talking about that, we're going to talk a little bit about the lawsuit. We know that there's a class action lawsuit, and the Adventist Church is named as a party to the lawsuit. Some of the pastors were deeply involved in Eminifx, and whether or not they knew or they did not know what was going on, they had a duty to the parishioners to make sure that if they're going to support something, if they want to recommend something, it is something that they show it's legal and it works. So today we have Mr. Fischer. Mr. Fischer, welcome to the professor. Always a pleasure to have you. Always look sharp. You are the sharpest dresser I know. And I am actually, I don't want to tell people where I am, but I'm at a place where it's really hot. So That's the reason I'm not wearing a suit. But you look beautiful. You remember that? It's funny because I've heard this comment in Paris while I was in Paris, and somebody said, "Tu es très beau." Tu es très beau. So,
all right. So we want to say hi and thank you for the listeners in Paris, the viewers in Paris, and we are here today to go over again Eminifx as usual. So to see what's going on and what is the current, trade in what's in the actuality of our money in Eminifx actually.
Obviously. Now, before we start talking about the report by the receiver, which I assume that you've read it, it's an interesting report. We're going to talk a little bit about the report, but let's talk about the church for a minute, because I have spoken to a lot of people. And this is what I've discovered. I have spoken to people from Houston, Texas, from Naples, Florida, from Georgia, from New York, from Florida, from Miami. And this is what I have been told. All of these people don't know each other and they haven't talked to each other. But one thing came out very clear to me is that all of them said that their pastors told them to invest, and their pastors told them that there were insurance, that if they were to lose their money, that the insurance policy would cover it. Now, it's not clear whether the insurance was going to be from the Adventist Church or from A.D. Alexandre, but when you have 5 different group of people in 5 different states telling you that their pastors told them something that is very similar in nature, it looks like there was some kind of coordination between the pastors. So let's talk about the involvement of the pastors, because you are part of the church. I mean, you were an Adventist. So what do you think that the pastors' liabilities are?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up again, because as I always told you, the Adventist Church, it is an international organization, and you have to be very careful when you involve the church in things like that. I do understand the fact that those pastors were formal employees of the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventists. But as far as the church is concerned, the church has nothing to do with the existence of Eminifx. This is a guy that is a member of the church. His father used to be a pastor, so he grew up in the church, and he happened to be an elder in one of the local churches. He preaches some sermon on Sabbath based on which pastor calls him, or based on their friendship, thing like that. This is a regular member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. This guy is not a formal employee of the church. Now, like I said before, those pastors who get involved in Eminifx, investing their own money and even inviting members to invest in Eminifx, now this is another token. This is a regular citizen that wants to invest his or her money. Okay? Now, it happened to be that those pastors, or some of those pastors, according to information that we previously had, may have been involved or may have had some direct contact with Eddie, and they were working actually for Eddie. But I don't want you to include the whole church as, okay, the pastors. You see what I'm saying? So well, I want you to be able to make the difference. Okay. Now, as legally as we were considering, as you were explaining, yes, the church is involved indirectly without even knowing it. And now you put them on the know of the situation. Now, this is the role of the church now to go and investigate to find out who were these pastors who got involved in such a forfeiture within our Haitian community.
Well,
and
Mr.
within
Baptiste, I can tell you who they were. I can tell you. For example, we have Pastor Maisonneuve, Pastor John Maisonneuve. This is a guy who were inside Eminifx. I mean, he was always up front. He was always visible. He was always talking about Eminifx. This is the guy who actually said that there are two things in his life that he's proud of. One of them is married his beautiful wife, Sophia Maisonneuve, and the other is Eminifx. So let's put John Maisonneuve on the side. But John Maisonneuve raised a lot of money on behalf of Eminifx. Pastor number one. Pastor number two is Montpremier, Philippe Montpremier. Philippe Montpremier was not, and these two guys that I'm mentioning to you, they weren't just a pastor of a small church. These guys were leaders in the Adventist church. They were leaders in the conference. There were people that a lot of people have a lot of respect for them because of the way they see them in their spiritual community. So we're not talking about some guy in Kansas that nobody knows. We're talking about people with stature. Now, Montpremier was also involved in recruiting people. Now, I happen to know a lot of people who told me that Pastor Maisonneuve gave them his bank account number for them to deposit money. And he will show the people his account and say, hey, look how much money I have. You can make that same amount of money. Now, I would agree with you, Mr. Baptiste, that maybe Maisonneuve did not know this was a Ponzi scheme. But here's what I would say to you. Maisonneuve is not some guy in the street. Maisonneuve, none of the pastors are stupid. Those are people who went to school, who studied, who are very smart, who was very articulate. Those are not dumb people. So I'm not going to accept the fact that they didn't know something was wrong. They didn't ever ask the questions or, hey, what's going on here? Where was the money coming from? I mean, come on, let's be honest.
No. That's not what I'm...
Listen, Mr. Baptiste, if you are involved in something wrong, and I have a question about what you're doing, and you ask me to be involved with you, what do I have to do? I have to ask you a question. Where is the money coming from? Where are you investing the money? Who's going to help you? How is this business being done? Because as somebody who's educated, I want to ask questions. So are you telling me that these pastors are just stupid and they just never knew what was going on? They're just like, oh, forget it. We're just going to give the money to Eddie. Is that what you're saying?
No. That's not what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, I do not agree with you by taking the example of John Maisonneuve because he knew what was going on. But when you mention the Seventh-day Adventist Church, it's a generic term. It's a generic name to involve. Now, you have a guy that has influence in the Asian Adventist community. And then he got these pastors who are also influential in their church. Okay? Like John Maisonneuve. And John Maisonneuve knew that it was a Ponzi scheme because his wife was the customer service representative of Eminifx. Okay? She was in charge of the service à la clientèle, customer service. Okay? And other pastors also, they knew it was a Ponzi scheme. Now, I'm talking about other regular members or other influential people in the church that did not know, but that get involved because those influential people within the church in the Haitian community got involved and they assure them it was something serious. Like John Maisonneuve, for instance, okay? So when you take a guy like that, like pastors who invited Eddie to come to their church and present Eminifx, okay? So those pastors, okay, they are responsible in a certain way because they are linked to the conference as the conference employee, and that's where the conference will get involved and even impacted.
Well, but
okay,
Mr. Baptiste, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question, right? This was a scheme that did not start in 2022. A lot of people didn't know. I did my research. A.D. Alexander has been doing this for 5 years inside the church. First, he had a group of 89 investors, okay, that was giving him money. Whether he invested the money, I don't know, but it was a small group. So they knew that there was something wrong. Now, are you telling me that the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, now you and I have spoken about how the church is divided. Now, I have done my research, I've done my studies. Listen, as a former lawyer, I don't practice law now. My job is research. That's what lawyers do. We research things, we figure things out. Now, there are 13 divisions of the Adventist Church. In the United States, they have the North American division, which is one division. But inside the GCC, the General Conference Corporation, you have 13 members, which represent each of the 13 divisions. Now, are you telling me that the church, let's say the Haitian pastors, and I'm putting that into quote, were running a Ponzi scheme with another member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, A.D. Alexander, and somehow the conference did not know, the union did not know, the General Conference, the North American division did not know, the General Conference did not. How could they not know? This guy was running meeting every Thursday online. This thing was all over the internet. How could they not know that one of them was, a lot of them were just criminals. How could they not know? Tell me, how could they not know? Explain that to me. How would they not know?
Okay, very good questions.
Yes.
Now, you have to understand the Haitian community is just a tiny ethnic group within the US in the Adventist, movement.
Right, and the Adventist.
Now, we do not have a Haitian conference, okay? We are linked through American conferences, which are the Black Conference.
Right.
Okay? So now those people at the level of the conference, most of them work directly, okay, in connection to the General Conference. But the local conferences still, they are American, Black Americans or whatever they form. No, right. Those pastors were not involved. The pastors that were involved in Eminifx were pastors in community churches, in local churches, okay? Like within your city in New York, for instance, you might have 2 or 3, even 4 Seventh-day Adventist church that are linked to a local conference, okay? Now, at that local these local conferences, people working at that level never knew about the existence of Eminifx, okay? So this Ponzi scheme within the church, it stays only within the local church with regard to the pastor of this local church and the members. This has nothing to do with the conference.
Well, I have another question.
Now, the lawsuit...
Hold on.
The lawsuit that went, this is that lawsuit who put the conference on the know of the situation.
So you're telling me, this is what you're saying to me. You're saying to me that prior to the class action lawsuit, the General Conference Corporation, the GCC, which is the head of the International Adventist Church, they had no idea that there was a Ponzi scheme being run inside their own church.
No.
Okay, I have a question for you. Let me ask you a question. And I think I know the answer, but I want you to tell me because you may know better than I do. The pastors, somebody like Pastor Maisonneuve, okay, and Pastor Montpellier. Now, at one point, I believe it was Pastor Philippe Montpremier, who was the coordinator for the Haitian ministry under the Southeastern Conference in Florida. Now, if somebody like that in a position of leadership, are you telling me that the GCC doesn't know who Pastor Monpremier is?
No, GCC doesn't even know who Pastor Monpremier is,
Okay.
in the sense that Pastor Monpremier, if he is a formal pastor of the church, he is within a local church, which is linked to a local conference. Okay? I have to tell you, after the conference, okay, we have the union.
Yes, that I know, yes.
Okay? And after the union, we have the division.
Yes.
And after the division, that's where the general conference comes.
Right.
Okay? Now, do you think that those pastors, they were going to invite the local conference pastors or employees into that thing? They knew they would have gotten fired. The local conferences, if they had known about that, there was no way they would have let that happen to the local church. They would have sent their employees to get rid of this pastor of this local church. No, they don't do it that way.
I have a question.
Now the lawsuit not only let the conference know what was going on, and also invite them now to investigate this situation. And when they investigate, any pastor who was working formally for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they will be sanctioned. I don't know at what level they will be sanctioned, but yes, they will be sanctioned, because now the conference get involved and become liably responsible for what happened for any pastors that was formerly working for them.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think that's the legal difference. And I want people to understand that. I read the lawsuit, and I think that this week, the lawyers are going to file an amended complaint. And I think that this is where the GCC has a problem. The GCC, I understand, is 3 times removed from the pastors, because between the pastors and the GCC, you have the local conference, you have the union, you have the division, right? So it's 3 times removed. Now, here's what I also find out. The church members give tithe, tithing. God says you got to give 10% of whatever you earn, you're earning. They give the tithing. Now, the church gives the tithing to the conference shares with the union shares it with the division shares it with the GCC. Now, the Adventist Church, as I speak right now, because we have a dozen investigators who've been investigating this case, and we have investigated the GCC also. We want to know what kind of liability insurance that they have. They are sitting on $15.6 billion. This is not a very poor church. They got a lot of money. Okay, so they're not poor. They're not gonna say, "Oh, Judge, we can't pay because we don't have any." They have tons of money, and then they have their own called the Adventist Risk Management, which have money over about $1 billion, so they could pay people who lose their money. Now, here's why I think they're responsible. When you hire someone, okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, if, for example, a police officer kills somebody in the street, you would have the right to sue the mayor of the city. Now, you're not suing the mayor because the mayor knew the police was going to kill somebody. You're not suing the mayor because the mayor, had anything to do with the killing. No. But this is what happened. Because the police officer eventually works for the city is liable, because the city is supposed to know what the police officer is doing. The city is supposed to train the police officer for not killing people, unarmed people. This is a theory that has been the legal theory for generations now. As a former lawyer, I could tell you, I used to sue New York City for the same thing. I sued the mayor of the city. So the same thing here. The lawyers are suing the GCC, not because they actually believe that the GCC got into a room with a couple of pastors and say, "Hey, let's steal all the money from the Haitians." I don't think that's what happened. I think the GCC may not have even known what's going on, which I would agree with you. But at the end of the day, Those pastors actually work for the GCC. Those pastors are the employees of the Adventist Church. When they speak, when they open their mouth, when they say anything, they say it on behalf of the Adventist Church. You can't move away from that. And because of that, the GCC is going to have to pay. Now, the GCC would have to put something in place to make sure that pastors are not engaged in financial matters, are not engaged in telling people where to invest, what to invest, because that's not their job. That's not their job. That's not their job at all. So now, this is a great discussion, because this is where the fight, the legal fight, is going to be. And certainly you have the knowledge, the experience to appreciate the argument, and I thank you very much. Now, let's talk about the structure of Eminifx, because the receiver just issued the last report. Now, before that, the receiver issued a report on February 23rd. That was a few months ago. The receiver just issued a new report on May 16th. Okay? Now, I'm going to read a part of the report for you, and I want you to listen very carefully what the receiver said. Now, this is not my word.
Give me 1 second before you jump to that.
Okay.
I wanted to make that point clear for you. Some of those pastors working for the Adventist Church, some of them may not even know where the office of the GCC is.
Probably.
Okay. And then yet alone for them to even be known by the personnel of the GCC, because they are working at the lower level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they are linked to the conference. They are linked to the local conferences. Now, even at the level of the local conferences, okay, there were no knowledge of Eminifx being existed and as an investment club for this community, because those pastors, they knew that if the local conference would know such thing and one of their pastors got involved in that, they would have get rid of this pastor.
True.
Okay.
But I hope so.
The knowledge of that Eminifx things, it stays within the members and the local pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Like I just mentioned, the lawsuit was the medium to, invite.
Right.
Or inform the conferences about what was going on, especially, and I have to tell you, it's not only in the Haitian community. We also had other ethnic group, people from other ethnic group who invested in Eminifx.
Right, yeah, I know, okay. I know. We got all kind of people. We got Jamaican, we got American, Black American. I've spoken to a lot of people, and we have a lot of people. So I agree with you.
And then I want to make it a fact for these people listening, for the listeners. All these people that were at the level of Eminifx, like you just mentioned, John Maisonneuve and his wife, Sophia, and Lydie Bastien, Eddie's sister, okay, Louis Burt and Jeffrey, and all the other people, they knew it was a Ponzi scheme.
Well, they should have been arrested.
And they knew that it was illegal to conduct a Ponzi scheme. Okay, so that's my problem with these people that they pretend to be educated, and you're telling me they did not know that a Ponzi scheme is something that was accepted, within the American society.
It's very clear, Mr. Baptiste. I have been telling people, even before Eddie Alexson was arrested, when I look at the website, I was a prosecutor in New York for 3 years. I prosecuted crimes like this. So I knew what the crime looked like. So when I looked at the website of Eminifx, this was before Eddie was arrested. I told people, stay away from this. This is a Ponzi scheme. This man would eventually be arrested. He will get locked up. In less than a year, that's exactly what happened. But no one was listening to me then, because they thought maybe there was something personal. But now, here's the funny thing. There were some people within Eddie Alexson's sphere, within his group, that defended him these guys were fierce defender of Eddie Alexander. They were like defending Eddie, and they have been against me, against my channel, which I don't have a problem with. But here's the thing. They were asking to wait for the fact to come out. A lot of people, for example, there's a guy like Ricardo Estime, okay? Fierce defender of, I don't want to say Eddie Alexander, but fierce defender of the club, so to speak.
Eddie Alexander. He's a defender of Eddie Alexander.
Okay.
Everybody is a defender of Eddie Alexander at the beginning because they did not believe. Now, I have to tell you that those people, it's either, and I'm sorry for the term, they were stupid, or they were involved in the Ponzi. And then they kept defending Eminifx.
Well, they kept defending indefensible. At what point do you continue defending something that is indefensible? Because I want to talk a little bit about what the receiver said. Now, this is not me saying it. This is what the receiver said. Now, you and I know when you are setting up a business, right? If you wanted to set up a business and you wanted to take people's money, first of all, you register the business. Second of all, you get your accounting, you get your lawyer, you get people to work with you. You make sure you pay your taxes. You make sure that the money that investors give you, it goes into a separate investor's account. Now, as a lawyer, I help people set up businesses. And I tell them, listen, you've got to do every step. You got to make sure that the business is run properly, okay? Now, Eminifx was everything but a business. And I'm not saying it. I'm telling you this is what the receiver is saying. Now, before I let you comment on the structure of Eminifx, right? For a company that raised over $300 million, this is not $300,000, this is not $300. We're talking about $300 million. And there's nothing that Eddie did that was legal. Nothing, zero. Everything he did from the beginning was illegal. Now, this is what the receiver said. Now, I want you to listen. I'm going to read a paragraph from the receiver's report, okay? And for people who wants to follow, this is on page number 2. This is what the receiver said. Although the receiver was able to recover a substantial number of records from Eminifx, including the database, and from certain third parties, like financial institutions, like banks, the receiver and his team have found no evidence of any corporate separateness among Eminifx investment and operational entities. No evidence of any segregation of Eminifx fund from company or operational funds, no investment or other contract with any Eminifx users, no regular issued users account statement documents outside of the Eminifx database, no general ledger of any kind being maintained, no tax return being prepared or filed. There was no sufficiently reliable financial statement.
There was no return of investment either.
Exactly. Now this is
presupposed investment.
This is, I mean, you have experience in investigating that type of thing. How was none of these people were around Eddie? How could they not ask the question, okay, where's the tax return? Where's the money going? Who are we paying? Where's the investment? That's what the receiver said. The receiver said, look, this whole thing was criminal from the beginning.
Well, he said in his presentation that there were tax being filed in 2022 for 2021, 2022.
Eddie Alexander never filed income tax for the business. Never.
No. But he said he will send a 1099 to the people.
No. He's not sending a 1099. No. Okay. If you look at his last report filed, that was February 23rd. He said on his last report that he's not sending a 1099 because he didn't believe that the money that people receive was from a legitimate investment vehicle. Therefore, he can't give 1099 to say, oh yeah, we legitimately pay you. In other words, whatever money you invested, Eddie took your money and paid Joe Blow with it. That's what happened.
Yes, so this is what happened. Like I was talking to you the other day, we were talking about that $14 million being held by Bank of America. Now,
Yes.
how come you have $14 million plus being held by Bank of America and you still have money to send to the people? Now, this is what happened. When we would send the money via the blockchain or the token, Bitcoin, thing like that, he has an account. So he kept the money in a wallet. And this is this money that he was, putting out every Thursday night, Friday night for people that wanted to withdraw money, to have money available for them to withdraw. But like I said, this was not an ROI that he would earn from like benefits from the stock that he would invest in. As a matter of fact, he lost almost $7 million. And
Yes.
that's when he stopped investing.
Now,
okay?
Here's what happened.
And
Here's what happened.
He still kept the money in a wallet, and then that's how he used that wallet for the blockchain or the Bitcoin, right. To send money. It's like you'll send money to me via Bitcoin or whatever. And that's what he was doing. But that money, there was money that he was receiving from investors day after day.
Well, I'll tell you something. We knew, and some people were saying, well, Eddie Alexson made one investment in futures trading for $9 million, one investment. And out of the one investment he made, he lost 6.2 million of that. And he never told a soul. He never told any of the investors whose money he took that
this guy is crazy.
He lost that money, which is actually a violation of the law. You have to be honest. You got to tell people what's going on with their money. He never did that. So the people that were defending Eddie Alexson, now that everything is on the table, now that they realize there was never an investment, that there was not a business, that Eddie Alexson had two things, okay? He incorporated Eminifx. He was 100% owner of Eminifx. Nobody else owns Eminifx. Now, his wife, and I got to tell you that his wife, obviously, her name had been hard to find, but we found her name because in the last report, they mentioned her name. Her name is Clarel Juvel. Clarel Juvel is the wife of Eddie Alexson, but she was the chief financial officer of Eminifx. Now, I don't know Miss Juvel. I don't know her background. I don't know her education. I don't know what qualification she has. But do you think she was just the CFO in name only, or was she really actively involved in this? Have you ever talked to her?
No. I cannot tell you those information because I was not, within the circle of this.
No, but this is what I'm asking you. I know that you've talked to Sophia Maisonneuve, for example, right? Mm-hmm. My question to you, did you ever have an opportunity to speak to Eddie's wife, who was the chief financial officer of Eminifx? I mean,
I have spoken to many ladies, mm-hmm. but the one that I would speak more to was Sophia Maisonneuve. Okay, there are some names that I have on my phone. I know there's one, this one was like a regular customer service employee, right. So she may not have even known what was going on. And I don't want to cite her name anyway.
Right, okay? No, I understand.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that there are people who knew what was going on, okay? So mm-hmm. these people need to be, paying, some, sanction. They mm-hmm. should receive some sanction for knowing that was a Ponzi scam. Not only they did not denounce it, they mm-hmm. did not report it, but they took part in it.
Of course, because they were making money. They were making money.
Yes. Okay, and then those people also who kept defending Eddie until now, either, like I said, they have some inflammation in their brain, okay? They cannot see what was going on, mm-hmm. okay? Because some of them are educated people that I know. Mm-hmm. And then they're still defending Eddie. So like I said, either they have something going on with their brain, they cannot reason, they cannot think.
Right.
And then you will find other people, at the low level, education level, But the fact that, you know, they were making money, those people are so emotional, you cannot even convince them to show them that, you know, it was a Ponzi scheme. As a matter of fact, if you talk like that, so they, you know, they wish you die.
Well, but listen, I mean, you're absolutely right. But I think that now there are some people now who are actually coming around. They realize it took them a while to get there, but they're getting there. They realize that the whole thing from the start to the beginning, from the beginning to the end, was actually a Ponzi scheme, which you and I and everybody have been, a lot of people have been telling them. But I'm glad that they realize that. My concern is that I'm hoping that this is the last time someone is going to take advantage of the Haitian community. Because a lot of us, you and I, maybe if we lose 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, we're not going to die. That's not going to be the end of us. But there are a lot of people who spend their entire time working, you know, doing, they're working hand to mouth, and they don't have the money. I've met a lot of people who are one paycheck away from being homeless, but yet they find the money, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 to give to this man. But what kind of person are you? What kind of heart do you have? How do you reason to take money from people who don't have it? I mean, how could you do that? How could you live with yourself? I mean,
let me tell you, Professor, there's a difference between an investment and a deposit scheme. Now, if I invest my money, let's say in the trucking business, I have 2 trucks, okay? Now, those trucks get in an accident and they are burned out, okay? I didn't have like an insurance for that, okay? So I know I made an investment, I lost my money, but I witnessed that the money was working.
Right.
Okay.
True.
Now, a Ponzi scheme is a steal. It's a group of criminals, okay, who are so dangerous to the society. They want to, you know, destroy the order within the society. So they create the Ponzi scheme. Those are social, you know,
psychopath. We can call them psychopath. Yes.
They are dangerously, you know, they are socially dangerous. Okay. Those are people that need to be put somewhere behind bars so they can pay for what they did. And I'm talking about still those people who knew that was a Ponzi scheme, and they knew it, they did it, they took part in it, and they are so influential. They went to a church and get the lay member that can't even think. They steal their money.
Of course. Okay.
So I'm talking about John Maisonneuve and his wife. I'm talking about Eddie and his wife. I'm talking about Lydie Bastien, and even her husband, who is a lawyer. Lydie Bastien's husband is a lawyer.
So how could they not know?
Yes. Of course, he was not involved in that. I never see him, but maybe indirectly he was involved. So you're telling me you could not have advised your wife that this was a Ponzi scheme?
I know,
as a lawyer,
but
I know he's an immigration. I don't know if he's an immigration lawyer or not, but I know he's a lawyer.
Maybe her husband did not even know what she was doing. You never know. That
no. He knew what was going on. You know, he knew that's a family.
Well, they
go to church. They go to church within the Haitian community sometimes.
They're all part of the same church.
Yes. So you telling me you could not have advised your wife not to take part in this, you know, trend that his brother was running, and you are a lawyer? Come on.
Maybe he thought, hey, maybe he didn't pay attention to what was going on. But you're right, though. You're absolutely right. Yes. I think if you are a lawyer, okay, I think you have the duty. If you have a family member who's engaged in something, you have to ask question, hey, is this legal? This doesn't sound right to me. Can we do some more research? Can you figure out what? I mean, I totally agree with you, because if my wife was involved in something, God, I would want to know what it is. Listen, I want to know, because eventually, if she got into trouble, she get arrested, or there's a judgment against her that we have to pay for it, I'm gonna have to pay. So hell yeah, I'm gonna be involved. I'm gonna want to know what's going on. So I totally agree.
Now let's come back to the church. Yes, the church is liably responsible for what was going on because some of the church employees, formerly employees, got involved in that and they abuse, members of the church and even, members in other communities. Yes, the church will be liable. Now, let's jump to the other topic of the report that came out from the receivership.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Here's one thing in the report that caught my attention. Now, the report says that there were 62,198 account users of Eminifx, okay? But the report says that there was only 25,007 users who made verified contribution. So there's no way the $300 or so million came from just 25,000 people when there were 62,000 users. Now, here's what I'm thinking about. A lot of people who give money are not going to get their money back because maybe their name was not on Eminifx. Maybe somebody else said, I'm going to open an account for you, and never did. But when I look what the receiver is saying, hey, there were 62,000 users, but only 25,000 actually put money in. That doesn't jive. You see what I don't know if you saw that part of the report, but what I want to ask you is, have you talked to a lot of people who gave their money to a third party to invest for them?
That's probably what happened. Okay. Now, some of those, either the receivership don't have all the data that they need to find out about those people. But once you create an account with Eminifx, your account is within the server.
Right.
Okay.
But that's what they say. I cannot
understand the fact. I cannot understand the fact that
you're right. They're saying that there were 62,198 accounts that actually were open on the database, on the server. But however, they're saying that they have proof they can only match 25,007 people, 25,000 people who actually contributed to Eminifx. So you can have, for example, we can have 100 accounts, but if I give you my money and say, hey, would you invest for me? You said to me, no problem, I'm going to open an account for you. You open an account for me, but you don't put any money on it, but you put my money under your account. So I'm showing in the computer as having an account that has never been funded, although I give my money to you. So I think that's what happened.
This is what might have happened, like you said. Now, if I invite you and you don't know how to put the money, okay? So you give me the money. I may put the money under my account, and then the money that the number that he posts for me on Thursday night, opening Friday, from that money, I can transfer from my account to your Eminifx account. Okay, but remember, it was a fictive a number. Okay, that's probably what the receivership is talking about. Now, that money, after I transfer it to you, the money you give me, I can either decide to keep it or I can put it in my account. The reason why I tell you that, because one day I had to talk to Sophia. Somebody gave me $1,000 to put for them. Okay. And then I called Sophia. I said, okay, so this is the money. I want to put it, but I don't know how to do it. You know what she told me? Don't you need some money? Why don't you transfer money from account on Friday to that person's account? And if you need some cash, you can keep that money. And I said, no, I do not, because I want to reinvest my money. Okay. I don't.
Okay. I see what she said. She said, keep the cash money and take your own money and invest it for that person. In other words, I mean, that's not technically illegal because you actually putting, you just
no. She's telling me to go to my Eminifx account.
Right.
Within the money they pay me on Thursday night.
Right.
The number they post me on Thursday night.
Right.
I can transfer from that number.
Right.
The amount that the person gave me,
right.
I can transfer from my account to their account, but it's just the number I transfer.
Oh, it's not, well, no, but you know what? At the time, she did not know that you knew you were just playing numbers on a computer. It wasn't real money. So I see what you said.
No. For me, I didn't know that it was not real money.
Of course you didn't know.
But at the time, she knew that, but herself, she knew it was not real money. She knew it was a number.
So that's the reason she told you to keep the money.
And then that's when I'm like, why she would say that? And I did tell her that, hey, I don't want to use the money. The money they pay me on Friday, I want to reinvest it.
Right, because
okay?
That
money, the money the guy gave me to put for him, that's not my money, that's his money. Right. So, okay, so I need you to tell me how, because I have all these account information, I need you to tell me how to do it.
Right.
Okay, but that's what she had to tell me. If you need some cash, you can keep it and transfer money from your account, from your Eminifx account to the other members' Eminifx account. Okay, and that's when I'm like, so this didn't click right in my mind.
Well, of course, as a smart guy, you realize, you say, well, wait a second. You're asking me to transfer something that actually not real. It's not real money. It's all in the computer. And that's the other thing also. When people were looking at Eminifx website and they were looking at the account and somebody put in $50,000 on Wednesday. On Thursday morning, that $50,000 is now $63,000. And then they said, oh my God, overnight I made $13,000. No, you didn't make any $13,000. What happened is that somebody at Eminifx was assigning numbers or percentages virtually. It wasn't real money. Now, this is where a lot of people got confused. There were some people who were receiving money every Friday, and they were receiving a percentage of their money, whether it was 5% or 9%. And these people actually believe that that money they're receiving was because of investment that Eddie made, and somehow Eddie had some kind of return on those investments, and that's the money that he was distributing to people. People didn't realize that it was the same money that they gave a month ago that he was using. Let me give you an example, right?
But when they arrested him, we knew that it was not an ROI, and then the report from the receivership just confirm it for us.
No, I know, but there are still people. But Mr. Baptiste, there are still people right now who are still defending Eddie Alexson, who are still planning to go to court on July 18 for his sentencing to tell the judge he didn't do anything. And I don't even know who these people are. I mean, this is the height of stupidness. I can't even imagine it. Because if you read one of the things that the receiver said, right, on page, and I'm going to tell you, on page 4, right, the receiver said that Eddie Alexson had a Bitcoin account. And that Bitcoin account, there were $183 million, okay? That $183 million were Bitcoin that were sent by users of Eminifx, okay? And it says very clearly here that Bitcoin account didn't do any trading. Those money were sitting, those Bitcoin amount were sitting in that Bitcoin account under Eddie Alexson's name. That money was never invested. He never sold the coin. He never traded. There was nothing.
No, because he was using it. He was using it to repay every Friday. Because remember, so he could not put that money. Yes. Yeah, he could not put the money in a bank. So he had to keep the money somewhere. And the Bitcoin account was the safest, medium for him to keep that money and to be able to transfer money and to be able to transfer money from members to members.
Right.
Okay, that was his account. Even like if you have a Bitcoin account now, you can send Bitcoin to me.
Yes.
Okay, as you know, as everybody knows that, and that's what he was doing. The money he was paying every Friday morning, so he was using his Bitcoin account to do it when you claim, like when he posts the number for you on Friday, okay, and then you say, okay, I want to make a withdrawal.
Right.
So, you know, to his link, thing like that, you make the withdrawal. So they will see it at the level of Eminifx base, and then they will transfer Bitcoin to you, okay, and making you believe, okay,
now
this was an ROI. But like I said, it was not an ROI. There was money that he was receiving from other people.
Okay, but I have one thing I want to talk to you about, because you mentioned this before. You remember that when Eddie Alexson had his office party, when he was opening the office for the first time, right? I saw a video where Eddie Alexson was saying to the people who were there, to the people who were part of that little celebration, that the reason why he didn't want to use Bank of America anymore, because every Friday when he goes to the bank to withdraw $5 million, $6 million, they spend all this time offering him coffee and talk to him and doing all this chantage. They didn't really want to give him the money. Now, here's my question, and I think that somebody else asked the same question. How come no one ever asked Eddie when he said that, wait a second, why did you have to withdraw $5-6 million? You weren't paying anybody in cash. There was never a payment in cash. So this guy is lying in front of all these people, and no one ever asked him, but whoa, wait a second. Have you thought about that? That he actually lied to these people right in front of them?
No, I don't think he wanted to withdraw that big amount of money in cash.
He wanted to transfer it somewhere?
Yeah, maybe he wanted to transfer to his account or to his Bitcoin, because there's no bank that'll give you, you know, that amount of money in cash anyway. Okay,
true.
but my problem with that meeting that he had in New York, when people went to visit, that was his appearance and his speech.
Well, of course.
And that's when my detective gut, my investigative gut, told me this guy is really a criminal. Because I saw in his speech, I saw the way he dressed like a teenager. He has a big, those, how you call them on him, with the tight pants and, a little shoes with maybe without socks, okay? This guy didn't have any appearance of a real businessman. He was a thug. He has a thug appearance.
He was a con artist, right?
Yes, he's a con artist, like you say in Creole. This one matter.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I never, listen, here's the thing. The thing was that almost 2 years ago, I first heard of Eminifx. The first thing I did is look at the website and call my friend and say, don't stay away from that. But of course, people don't listen, because they think that if I tell them the truth and they realize there's a way for them to make money, that it's easy money. Because believe it or not, everybody, I would just say everyone, but a lot of people like easy money. They like to make easy money. And that's where you get into trouble, when all you're looking at is the money, but you're not asking questions. And I think that a lot of us in the community, a lot of these people invested their money. Part of it is the pastors. Because if you want anything done, if you want people to kill themselves, get a pastor to tell them to do it. They'll do it. If you want people to do anything, you get a pastor to come and tell them that Jesus told them to do it, and they will do it. It's just that this kind of stupidity that I never understand. But people do that. That's one thing. But the other part of it also, Mr. Baptiste, you have to admit, a lot of it was just pure greed. How the hell you think you're going to make 242% of your money a year? That is impossible.
No, I mean, I told you that before. Eddie was using the trend for that present time. You remember from 2020, during the COVID, how the Bitcoin, the token, the digital money, people were making money in it. And a lot of people wanted to invest their money. Okay?
Right.
They wanted to make money. So when Eddie took advantage of that situation to abuse the people, that's what happened. Because you remember our Bitcoin went so high, and
Well,
then all of
I
a
tell
sudden
you,
it
listen,
dropped
I've told
down.
you this before, and I told all my viewers,
Yeah.
I don't invest in Bitcoin because I have no idea what the hell Bitcoin is. I don't understand it. I don't know how it works. Listen, I just don't get involved. And I told people, do not invest on anything that you don't understand. If you can figure out how it works, don't invest. Period.
And then that's what happened. So when Eddie saw that, so he took advantage of these people willing to invest their money.
Yeah, but
and
the pastors, listen,
he came with his presentation,
Mr.
so to
Baptiste,
make the people
let me say
believe in
this
him.
to you. I don't care how convincing Eddie Alexson was. I don't care how good he was at sweet talking people. There was no way Eddie Alexson would have gotten 62,000 people to bring money to Eminifx if it wasn't for the pastors. I have talking to hundreds of people who told me, Professor, I would not have invested my money if it wasn't for the pastor. Yesterday, I spoke to a lady from Georgia. She told me her and her husband invested $110,000 after the pastor made four trips to her house to show her in his telephone how much money he was making, and said, no, you're gonna make money like me. You're gonna build a house in Haiti. You're gonna buy land by the beach, by the ocean in Haiti. You got to invest. And the lady took $110,000 and put it in, and now that money's gone. So how could a pastor do that? I mean, it's you know what? Sometimes if somebody does something to you, it's easier to deal when a stranger does something to you than when somebody you trust do something to you.
Let me tell you that. Okay? Eddie and his family, they know in Haiti we don't play. They know Haitian people don't play. Okay? Haiti is waiting for him now. After he's spent his time in prison, they might send him back to Haiti.
Well, he's not going to Haiti. I can tell you that much.
Wherever he goes, let me tell you what. Wherever he goes,
he's not going
Haitian people will get him.
Well,
wherever he goes, one way or the other, okay, the Haitian people will get him. Don't worry. This guy will not last. As a matter of fact, he has problem in his mind. This is a guy that needs to see. Now, this is a guy that needs to see a psych.
Well, he does.
I'm telling you.
Here's what I'm going to say. I always tell, be careful what you do, because there's something in life called karma. And karma has a way of getting back to you. What Eddie Alexson did was the worst I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen people who took people's money and do his thing in there, but no one has done it at the level he's done it. Now, having said that, he's going to pay back to society, according to the judge. He's facing 10 years. Maybe he'll get 6 or 7 or 8 years, but he's going to pay, he's going to pay back to society by going to prison. But I also know that Eddie Alexson is smart enough that he has some money stashed somewhere in Europe, that when he gets out of prison, he would have enough money for he and his wife and his kid to go live somewhere where Haitian won't even be able to touch him. Now, even if they were able to touch him, I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in anything that has to do with that. So I would say that Eddie Alexson is going to need some protection. And let me just put it that way.
And let me tell you what, when I say they will get him, I'm not saying violence. I'm not saying they will hit him. You know us in the Haitian community. You know us in Haiti. You know?
I know, listen, you're making me laugh. Man. You know why? Listen, I got to tell you something. This is a funny joke. There was a lady in one of
they will not shoot him.
No,
they will not even shoot him.
No,
they will not shoot him.
The lady who said that, and of course, for people who don't speak Creole, they don't understand what I'm saying. But in our culture, there's something that, hey, I'm going to eat up this guy. I'm going to, well, not kill, so-called kill, but I'm going to get rid of this guy. So, yeah, there are people who said that they want their money back, and some of them may have their money back. A lot of them are going to lose their money. But
let me tell you something. And when I say that, I'm not talking about, our culture.
Right.
there are people, well-educated people, okay, that are in secret societies that were involved in investing their money, you know, in Eminifx.
Yeah,
you think those people, they will just look at him in the eyes? No.
No.
They will not even wait for him to go to Haiti, maybe for some voodoo thing to be done for him. Okay? No. We have Freemason.
Well, I heard there are a lot of Freemason who invested, some, you know, Haitian Freemason.
You think they will just look at him like that? No. No. I'm telling you, they're waiting for him to come out after his prison time. Trust me, he will not have long to live.
Well, I hope, you know, I do hope that, you know what I hope for Eddie? Here's what I hope. I hope that he realizes what he did and try to make amends, because when you do something that affects so many people in your own community, you have to be a psychopath not to feel sorry for the people you've hurt. I can't even imagine. Listen, if Eddie had gone to the bank and robbed the bank and take money from the bank, I wouldn't even look at it. I wouldn't say, you know, whatever. Bank has money, no problem. They have insurance. But when I have an old lady who's 80 years old who told me that every single penny she had, she gave it to Eddie thinking she was going to make money. The woman is 80 years old. She doesn't have anything. I mean, how could you live with yourself? How could you look people in the eyes? And I think that for people who say, well, why is the professor is talking about this case, blah, blah, blah. I'm only talking about this case because there are thousands of people who cannot speak for themselves, who need somebody to speak for them, who is too afraid to speaking. So somebody got to speak for them, because you know how hard it is to make money. I mean, it's not, you know, I mean, it's not easy. These people are not drug dealers. There are people who work very hard every day trying to save a little penny here and there, trying to retire, trying to get a house, trying to take care of their family, and all their fucking money is gone. And this guy is just going to some camp at a federal prison. You know, he's not going to hard time, because this is one of the things I'm going to talk about when he got convicted. I could tell people where I think Eddie Alexander is going. He's going to a camp. He's not going to, you know, to some, you know, fourth level, third level security prison where, you know, people get stabbed every day. No, sir.
You know what? If I were him, I would wish they give me life to prison, because after, like I just said, after he spent his time, he would not have, you know, long life to live anymore.
Well, he would probably have to look behind his back. I would say that this is a guy.
You see what I'm saying? So maybe if he had stayed in prison, he would have lived until he died. Okay? But
life in prison is not a good thing either.
When you abuse people like that, no, they will not just look at you in the eyes. You know, I think he's expecting that too. And his family, you know, they're expecting that.
Well, yeah. Yeah. They've been in hiding. You know, they've been in hiding. Well, thank you. Listen, my friend, thank you so much. This has been a great discussions about Eminifx. There's so much more to talk about. I want you to come back again so we could talk a little bit, because on July 18, Judge Cannon is going to sentence Eddie, and he's facing up to 10 years, about 196 months or something, 120 months. He's facing 10 years. And there are people who I told them that if they want to write letters to tell the judge about how they were affected by what Eddie did to them, they should be able to do that. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to provide people with the name, address of the judge. And I'm also going to provide them with a sample letter that they can, you know, formulate in their own language, and then they can send that letter to the judge. I'm going to actually write that letter and make it public, so anybody can, you know, download it and, you know, put their name on it and explain in their own word what happened to them. Because I think that
so maybe in that letter you can also mention that he was not alone in Eminifx. Okay, so he has his accomplices, and give their name that were involved.
Oh, you know? Listen, I think, listen, this is what I tell people. I think the class action lawsuit is going to reveal a lot. People don't understand. This isn't federal court.
But the class action lawsuit is a civil case.
No, it is a civil case, but here's what happened.
It's not a criminal case.
Those people are going to be deposed. And we're going to find things out. And there were people like Maisonneuve, like Montpremier, like William Jean-Charles, Sophia Maisonneuve, all of these people. The lawyer could refer them for prosecution. The lawyers could call the U.S. Justice Department and say, hey, we've conducted our research, our investigation. These people are as guilty as Eddie. You ought to go after them. So this case is not over. I mean, the fastest thing that could be done is for the church to settle the case, to pay, whatever they need to pay people and settle it. But if they don't, or if they're dragging it, well, listen, they're going to do discovery. Things are going to come out, and whoever get victimized, get victimized. But that's what happened when you involve in illegality. So yes, absolutely.
Like I just said, I think Eddie need to see, a psych, to evaluate him in that matter, because he's going through a lot now. And well, maybe people that were around him, they need to see a psych too. And also those people that still don't want to believe that, that he was doing that, they still defend him.
Well, those people are the worst. I could tell you that. I feel sorry for them. I think something is wrong with their brain. All right, my friend, I'm going to stop here. This has been a great discussion. I want to have another discussion. Please do come back so we can talk a little bit. Hopefully, when Eddie get sentenced, we could talk about a little bit about where we are. I'm still waiting for the receiver to publish how people should get their money. And for people who follow this channel, once I get the receiver's paperwork and information, I will share them with you. We'll help you. We'll tell you about how to go about submitting your evidence in order to get whatever money the receiver is going to give you. So the last word is to you, Mr. Baptiste.
Well, I want to thank you, and I want to thank all the listeners, and stay tuned, stay connected to the Professor channel. So as we will inform you of everything that will come out as far as the receivership and the court is concerned. And again, I want to thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baptiste. I hope to see you again. Please keep watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to the Professor. We're going to make sure that, until you get your money, we're not going to stop. So that's the thing. We want everybody to be satisfied, to get some money. So until that happens. And also, in addition, Eddie Alexander will get sentenced on July 18, but the class action lawsuit will continue. And we're going to make sure that whatever money you don't get from the receiver, you get it from the class action lawsuit. So now, if you haven't registered for the class action lawsuit, you can send an email to Eminifx claim, without an S, claim @gmail.com. Again, thank you so much for watching. Mr. Baptiste, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You're a great guest, very articulate, very smart. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks.